I want to talk about just one aspect of goal setting. It's called a SMART goal, and I am going to add some additional letters to it. And it's a helpful tool. And that's all it is. It's a tool. It's just one small piece of a larger discussion about goal setting. I've written several articles. I'll be doing other videos concerning goal setting. I think it's important. It's an area that I've struggled with. I know a lot of people have. I think there's a lot of false concepts out there too. Things like visualization is helpful. It's a good tool as well. We'll talk something about that. But I just want to warn that there are things like The Secret, which is just totally wrong for a Christian. It seems to indicate that if you have the right thoughts, you think positive, you visualize, the end result of something, you will, the universe will give those things to you. And for us as Christians, we know that God is the giver of every good and perfect gift, and we are to make prayer and supplication to God for the needs that we have and the concerns that we have, and to be anxious about nothing, but give those things over to God in prayer. So there's a lot of wrong things out there, and in this short video, I just want to focus on just SMART goals. So you might have heard of SMART goals. It's an acrostic, S-M-A-R-T. The S is for specific. But before we get into each of those letters and what they mean, I want to talk about something in front of that. I put an A in front of a SMART goal. And first of all, that's the word align. I think that it is important that whatever goals we have, that we have them aligned with God's goals and purposes for us. God has gifted us. He is a master craftsman, is working in our life to work out things, good works in our life. And so our goals that we plan on, we should be thinking about how they are aligned with God's purposes and what He has for us. So if you're talking about a business, you also can think about alignment. Whatever goals I have personally in my department, in the things that I do, should be aligned with the department, the sector or division that I work in, and then fit into the larger company goals. All of those things should be aligned. And so anything that I'm working on, if it's not aligned with who I am, who God made me to be, what His purpose for my life are, if they're out of alignment, those goals are bad goals. And we've, of course, know through Scripture there's a lot of goals that were lofty goals. Babylon wanted to build a tower to heaven. That's a lofty goal. That's a big goal. But it was one that God was not pleased with. And so we have the confusion of language because of that wrong goal. And so goals can go wrong. There's an article by Harvard Business School many years ago now, and I'll give a link to it. But one of the things that they say, if I can find it here, it says, rather than dispensing goal setting as a benign over-the-counter treatment for motivation, managers and scholars need to conceptualize goal setting as a prescription strength medication that requires careful dosing, consideration of harmful side effects, and close supervision. We offer a warning label to accompany the practice of setting goals. And the article talks about some very notorious business goals that definitely went wrong, and I'm not going to go into them. Like I said, I want to focus on the acrostic SMART goals for right now. So we have alignment already. Specific is where we define in very concrete terms what it is that we're trying to achieve. So specific. Another S or two that we might think about goals at this point I'm going to mess up SMART a little bit by having more than one S. So maybe we slide into SMART or something like that. But I think it ought to be strategic. Goals that follow the 80-20 rule, Pareto. There are some small things that we could do or strategic things that we can do that have greater consequences. And so if we can look at goals and say, what can I do that would, be the domino, you hit it and boom, 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 things, take off after that. So if I can look for specific, strategic goals and also sustainable goals. I think sometimes people make goals that, they can achieve them, but they end up burning themselves out or destroying the equipment because they didn't stop, to do the preventive maintenance or things like that. So they ought to be sustainable type goals, and those are all in that early planning of specific. Is it strategic and sustainable? But the M is measurable, and there's a great concept in the book, Closing the Execution Gap by the Covey organization. And it talks about lead and lag measures. And they use an illustration of losing weight. If I want to lose weight, I, will know whether I lost weight or not by stepping on the scale. I look down and voila, I've lost 5 pounds. Woohoo, celebrate, right? But that doesn't help me achieve the goal necessarily. And it tells me whether I've been successful at achieving the goal, but it doesn't help me to get to the goal. And so I would look for a goal that is a lead measure as well as a lag measure. A lead measure is something that would lead to, in this case, losing the weight. So how can I lose weight? Well, I might try changing my calorie intake. If I lower the amount of calories I take, I will probably lose weight. It will lead to me losing weight. And there's a number of different tools out there that you can, use and follow. Weight Watchers has points, or you could figure out some kind of, process of, lowering your intake or eating different types of foods and those kinds of things. That would help me. What also might help me is to exercise more. So my goal setting and my measure would be, how often I go to the gym or how often I run or how long I run. And I can have a little checklist down there to help in that measure. M is important as long as I have the tools and I look at, what are my lead measures? And if I have a measure that I think leads to losing a weight or, to the goal that I want, and I don't see any change, then I need to examine whether that's a good measure or not. A is for achievable. We're not talking about miracles here. We're talking about you are making progress. You set something to do. It can be a stretch goal. There may even be some steps in between, but you have the reality in mind when you set it. I'm not likely to deadlift 500 pounds anytime, ever. It's just not going to happen. That wouldn't be realistic. And so, it has to be something that fits, again, who you are, what you're called to do, what your skill sets are. And, like I said, it's not that you can do it now. It's something that you can do when you have a clear path. Okay. Relevant has to do with the fact that you are committed to it. It means something to you personally. I think that's where a lot of company goals go wrong, that they don't understand the employee, what motivates the employee, and they set goals that aren't very relevant to them. But for yourself, I mean, does it really matter to you? Is it something worth achieving? Something, not somebody else's goal, but it fits in with who you are, what you want to become, your future self, as Dr. Ben Hardy would say. You can visualize it in the sense that you can see yourself, doing that, being that, achieving that goal. I want to talk a little bit about visualization while we're there on that point. We're not talking about the secret where you say, I'm looking for this end result of, driving a Maserati or something. But I'm looking at something relevant, worthwhile. And my visualization is me taking the steps to get to that point so that I can achieve that goal. That's what we mean by visualization. We're not just somehow magically things are going to come to us, but we're visualizing, if I'm going to run a marathon, I'm visualizing the fact that I'm going to, get up tomorrow and get dressed. I'm going to, see myself opening the front door, and I'm going to go out and run. That is, looking at the path to get us there, and seeing myself doing that type thing. Not necessarily the after effect that I'm, fit, but I'm doing the steps that get me to that point. So I also think of an R. So we've added a couple S's, let's add another R, right? Why not? Why don't we just corrupt this thing totally? So I also think goals ought to be relational. I'm doing this in relationship to my relationship to God. It's also in relationship to others. I'm not just doing it for my own selfishness, but I am strengthening my skill set, my abilities, my income, so that I can do more for the kingdom of God, so that I am a good neighbor, and I love God and love my neighbor, that kind of thing. So I think there's something to look at as far as relationship to goals. They shouldn't be selfish goals. I think if they are selfish goals, I think ultimately they won't be satisfying goals. You're doing it because you're part of a community, and that. And then the T in SMART is time bound. So I'm going to start on such and such a date and finish on such and such a date. That is time bound. Again, it gives you focus, and that's what's the whole purpose of SMART goals. Any goal is to focus your time, your resources, your mind, your capacity on getting something done. So with goal setting, you ought to have only 2 or 3 goals. Again, the purpose of goal setting is to have focus. If you have more than 2 or 3 goals, you have too much. I'm a person who lives and dies by task lists, and things along that line. But again, my task lists, those smaller goals, need to be aligned with the larger goals. SMART goals, that acrostic, I hope helps. Even though I've added a few more letters, I think that can help you go a little bit deeper into looking to see that you achieve the goals that you want to have the focus that you want. I think that there are some factors in there. Now, this is just one small part of setting goals. I have said several articles. One of those articles talks about the God factor, where we talk about the biblical aspect of Lord willing. So that is SMART goals. SMART, of course, I've added an A in front. I've added a couple extra S's. I've added another R. I hope that it's a useful tool to you. It's giving you a better understanding of how to set goals. And, from here, there's just a number of other things I'm going to be adding as far as written articles and as far as videos. So subscribe below and hit like, and I hope I can add to your knowledge and help you set goals. It's an area of my life that I've struggled with, and I feel I've gotten a little better at it, but it's been helpful to get a greater understanding of what goal setting is all about.